What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very exciting From Screen to Shelf review slash unboxing slash discussion. So we're going to do this one in a little bit of a hybrid. We're going to review and unbox this and show you guys what Your Next is all about, as well as go over what we do know about how it was restored and the technical specifications. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the movie a little bit afterwards. So if you want more discussion, feel free to skip ahead. But if you're here for the review of the disc and our thoughts and everything about it, stay tuned right now because we're going to go ahead and dive in. Will, did you watch any of the special features on here?
I didn't get to watch the special features yet.
Okay.
I watched the film,
Okay.
and that's about it. So I'm probably going to try to dive into those this weekend. But
Okay.
I assume you had time to watch
I watched some. Yeah.
a couple of
So
them.
I had
Yeah.
a little bit of time to check though. I didn't watch all of them.
Yeah.
But to go over on this real quick on the technical side, Will and I were actually trying to look for a little while before firing, and we really couldn't find a lot on the transfer process. Um, as far as I'm aware, and I could find, it was filmed digitally. It doesn't say that it's a 4K upscale. It just says 4K. It doesn't even say native 4K. So don't have a lot of information to give you on that. Nor do we know if this is a BD66 or 100. Can't find anything about that. I'm sure there's something that's out there that maybe we missed, but as of this recording, we don't have any information. But it does have a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 track that really hits hard. I guess that'll be a good segue into the disc quality. Will I guess we can touch on sound and get that out of the way. But the sound was really nice and punchy, and it sounded really good during the key moments. 5.1 was the way to go because I don't really see the point in Atmos in this type of movie.
Yeah, for something like this, I mean, it sounded good for what it was on my TV. I
Yeah,
don't really see. I mean, and look, here's the thing. Like, I'm a proponent of Atmos, but only when I feel like it's necessary. Like, I'm
yeah,
not gonna. I don't need Atmos on every movie that comes out. It's just
yeah,
not, practical, frankly. So, yeah, for something like this, I mean, it sounded fine. I think the DTS audio was it seemed well mixed, at least on my setup. And I mentioned this when we talked about the Furiosa review, the 4K disc for that. I have a new audio setup that I got within the last 3 months. So, I've had the luxury of checking out some stuff on that. And yeah, I mean, sounded good, man. Sounded great. So, no problems at all, or no cons, I should say, on the audio front. I don't know if you want to get into the video because I think
yeah,
this is obviously Second Sight put this out, everybody, so it is director approved. And for anybody that's interested, I mean, before his Godzilla and Kong forays,
hmm
and even before a movie that I really appreciate that I also own, The Guest, which is another great Second Sight release. Adam Wingard directed this film, and I think he did a fantastic job of visually. I think this movie is, I think it's shot really well. I think they were working with. I think this is an upscale of a 2K DI from what I remember.
yeah.
I'm
That would
pretty
sound
sure
more
it was
appropriate.
shot. Yeah, I think it was shot on. Um, I don't know if it was originally shot on 4K, but it was finished with a 2K DI originally. So, but this is presented in the original aspect ratio. I'm pretty sure, which is 239:1. With high dynamic range, Dolby Vision, and it's got the HEVC encode. So, I mean, it looked good, man. Looked good. I think this movie was. There's some scenes where I guess I could say the camera, like in some of the fight scenes, like when they first break into the house, the camera movements are a little wobbly. So I'm
Yeah,
not necessarily the biggest fan of some of the way that the scenes were shot, so to
yeah,
speak, like with some of those more fast paced action moments. But overall, in terms of the cinematography, I mean, the movie looks really good. I mean, here's the thing, man. I can't really complain about Second Sight. They always do a killer job, regardless of the
yeah.
source material. They
Always.
really do. They're up there with Vinegar Syndrome. I think they're one of the best. Um, they're one of the best companies out there when it comes to film restorations and even upscaling films that are not necessarily older films or classic films, but more modern. In the case of a movie like this, so I think they did a fantastic job with it. It looked fantastic, and again, I watched it on my OLED, so looks really good. Uh, that's pretty much where I'm at. I think Black levels look good on my TV.
They do.
Black levels actually looked really good. Um, it's interesting because like in a movie like this, because people always think, oh, you guys are talking about black levels, you guys are nerding out over this, but no, it really is one of those things. I don't want to sound like one of those people, but for a movie like this, when you have like impressive blacks that are like really deep,
Yeah.
it aids in
A
the
horror movie
viewing of the
well.
film,
Yeah.
and with a movie like this where it is kind of yeah, I guess we could say like kind of a meta slasher film, so to speak. I think it helps, with building atmosphere and building tension. I just think it adds to the effectiveness when you have a really good transfer in that regard. You know, um, it's got a few stylistic choices too that I think are aided by this particular restoration. The work that Second Sight did. There's one where it's like, remember there's one kill scene where there's like the camera flash.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I thought that looked really good. And that's one of those moments where, at least on an OLED, at least on my setup, you get a really good idea. You get a really good look at that contrast with like really deep blacks and like peak brightness, right, or peak whites on screen. So I thought that was a pretty good example of that, at least during my viewing. Like I said, at least on my setup. Obviously, everyone's setups are different depending on what kind of TV you have, depending on how you have your settings on your TV. But yeah, man, no complaints with the video on this one. I think it looked fantastic. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I agree with you every single point of the way. The increased contrast levels, the deeper and truer blacks, it really, really aids in a movie like this because, like, I had told you before we started airing, I had thought I saw this movie and really liked it, and I guess I confused it with something else, or just there was a lot of home invasion movies in like the late 2000s and the early 2010s. It felt like.
Yeah.
So maybe I had seen something else. Maybe I thought it was The Purge. I don't know. But this was actually a blind buy in essence, but it wasn't initially that way. So it was a very pleasant surprise, and the way that it's shot, just like you said, there's some gripes I probably could have.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think this restoration does aid it, and this is the best way that you'll ever be able to view it. Just like we say with
Yeah.
any really good 4K restoration, this is going to be leaps and bounds over your Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Will, do you want to go ahead and start showing the box and stuff?
Yeah, we can do that. And Chase, if I may, though, because I feel like this needs to be said, because you're going to have people that are like, well, I didn't think it looked that great. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah.
When we say that this is the best that this film's going to look, we're not saying that this film. Okay, let's put it this way: this isn't one of those movies where it has like an incredibly appealing, or I guess you could say visually jaw-dropping color scheme to it, or
Yeah.
color palette for that matter. It's a lower budget film. Okay, the production quality is what it is. It's a lower budget production, or was a lower budget production.
Yeah.
And again, the look of the film is kind of what you would expect with that. It's nothing that like stands out incredibly. What I'm saying is what Second Sight did with this transfer, it kind of gives this movie, I guess, a slight elevation. It kind of gives it an added, I guess you could say, like richness, so to speak, that slightly enhances the look of it. But again, it's not going to blow you away. It's not going to floor you. This isn't like John Wick or any kind of movie where it's like a um I guess you could say, like, what do they call it? Like when you put something on your TV to show people when they come over your house. It's not it's not like a set piece kind of movie, so to speak, right? So,
Yeah.
that being said, for a lower budget movie, I think it looks really good. I think they did a really good job with it. But anyway, yeah, moving on to the box. If you want to get into that, I got mine here. Um, I love this. I love this box art, dude. I really do.
Mhm.
We'll start with the front.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and show the J card as
Yeah,
well, just for those that care.
but I'm a big fan of this. The way they did this, I love that like deep red
Like
color
this
that they put on
honestly
there.
represents the color palette of the movie extremely well as well.
Yes,
So this kind of lets you
exactly.
know like the type of transfer if you're curious on. I think it's sold out most places. Maybe you might be able to find it on Orbit or Atomic somewhere, but I
Yeah.
was looking on Grindhouse and Second Sight right before this recording. As of this going up, those were sold out last I checked.
And
And man, this is a thick.
the standard is still available, right?
Both of them were sold out when I checked.
Oh, damn, really?
Yeah,
So that's interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, that's the cover. So you got our lead, our final girl on
this
the cover
book's
there.
thick. This is probably one of the thicker books I've seen too.
Yeah.
This one's
Is
really
that
big.
48 pages or 40 pages? The booklet?
Yeah. I think it's 120 pages. I could be
Oh
wrong.
shit.
Let me double check. Let me go back so it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah,
One
we
second.
get lobby cards too with this. I'm gonna open these up real quick.
120-page book.
Nice. And you know what, dude? These lobby cards are I really love these lobby cards. So
I always
that's
like getting them that way. I hate taking them
yeah.
out though.
I hate taking them out too, but try to keep them in good condition. So we
Yeah.
got one of our invaders there, one of the home invaders with the wolf mask on. We got another image of our final girl, played by Sharni Vincent, I believe is this actress's name. She's an Australian actress, really good actress.
Yeah, she hasn't really done a lot. I tried looking into other things she may or may not have done. She hasn't really done a whole lot.
Yeah, but a really energetic performance
Yeah,
in this movie. I mean,
she
she
kills it.
she does, man. She does a fantastic job. Here's another shot of our antagonists, the three home invaders there. And then we have a picture of the rest of our cast.
That's a
And
nice picture.
our girl there in the bottom corner, Barbara Crampton. Shout
Hmm.
out. So yeah, man. You get your lobby cards, you got your 120-page booklet. Did we open up the I don't know if you showed it while I was
I think I showed the case while you were.
the
Yeah,
inner case? Yeah.
yeah, really nice.
So really
Very
nice
coherent
packaging.
package.
Yeah. But it's like you said, I think the color and the artwork, they just fit the look and feel of the film. So I think they
Yeah,
really killed it with that. So
like the
what would
brownish red
you
aesthetic.
give the special features? Because I didn't get to watch them yet.
Yeah, I know we usually list off the special features, but there's so damn many. I'm just gonna link Sound Second Sight's um, website down below. So the ones that I really flock to is Second Sight always does these exclusive ones for all of their releases, where it's usually at least the director, sometimes an additional cast member or a writer. I believe this time it was the writer, Simon Barrett. Where is it? Children of the 80s, a new interview with Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. And it's about an hour long. Those are the reasons I buy second sight editions, whether standard or limited. Those special features they do where they just essentially let the director like gawk over their own movie for an hour straight is so cool. And those are
Yeah.
some of my favorite special features. So the special features that I did check out, that one, a couple of other ones, original theatrical trailer. I believe this one had still galleries as well. I checked, pretty sure I checked. No, animated storyboards. I checked that one out. Pretty solid. Again, I mean, you can't ever give Second Sight anything but an absolute 10 out of 10 on their special features because they put every single one that they can get their hands on. So 10 out of 10 on special features. The
Mm.
sound is really, really nice. I don't know if I can necessarily rate that if I it's gonna sound harsh, but I'd say 7, but it's just because it's fine. You know what I mean? It's nothing necessarily like you need to get it for its sound quality. It's a perfectly fine soundtrack. There's nothing great, which it would be like an 8 for me, great or amazing, right around there. So a 7,
Yeah.
I think is just fine. The video quality again, I'd say about an 8. It's really nice. It's a step above fine for the reason of it gives you so the HDR, you know? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the resolution doing a lot of heavy lifting here, it's the combination. If you've got a good OLED, even if you don't, you're still getting a moderate boost from the HDR itself, and so it really changes the game of the movie for me. So, I'm gonna give the whole package a solid, Say 8.59. I mean, the packaging alone right there probably bumps it up to a 9. The second sight packaging is my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna give the packaging probably a 4 out of 5. It's probably mostly 4 out of 5 across the board for me. I'm not gonna rate the special features because I haven't seen them, but in this case, I mean, if we're going by just the sheer amount of special features that's on this disc, I mean, it's gotta get like a 4, 4.5 out of 5, which is pretty standard for Second Sight. I mean, they always load this stuff,
Yeah.
with special features. But yeah, the video, again, if we may, just to if we can, just to repeat this isn't like a movie that is originally like incredibly visually stunning. Again, it's a lower budget,
Yeah.
slasher film. Kind of came out of nowhere. It doesn't have like a crazy production value to begin with. So, like you said, it for what it is, it looks really good. I think they did a fantastic job with it. They elevated the film, the best way possible. But again, it's not gonna you're not gonna be sitting there with your jaw on the floor, like pausing every few seconds to admire,
Yeah.
the beauty of it. It's not one of those movies, but I think it looks damn good for what they were able to do with it. So
Yeah. I agree. And,
yeah.
I guess that'll conclude the review section. We can talk freely about the movie a little bit.
Mhm.
This one, I'm assuming this be more spoiler filled, right? Like, for a discussion.
Yeah, we can get into that. I mean, we don't have to go into like great detail. I mean, we can pretty much talk about what it's about. I'm interested
I
to
think I
get
can
your
talk about
thoughts
spoiler
on it.
free. Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
can cover it spoiler free, so we can leave it spoiler free because there's nothing, like, that I can't really allude to or anything with,
right.
that I can't just talk about freely. So, yeah, this movie was a treat. The lead lady, you just said her name, I already forgot. She's wonderful, the Australian actress.
Sharni, I think her name is Sharni Vincent, from what I remember. I was trying
Yeah,
to remember the credits. Sharni Vincent. Yeah, she plays our lead
yeah.
actress in this.
She's wonderful. She's a great lead, very, charismatic, very likable, somebody you
Hmm.
wanna root for, and I always absolutely love movies that just don't try to do something different, like, or that do something different and try not to tread the same ground. I said that weird.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I like The Strangers a lot more than most
Mm.
other people because that ending is gut-wrenching. It's different, it really, really did do something a little bit like, "Whoa," you know? And I think this kinda
Yeah.
did the same thing. There's definitely movies like it. It's not like this is unique and there's nothing else out there that does what it does. It's just
Mm.
very, fun in the way that it goes about it. This movie's just a blast from front to back, and there's just around that time, there really wasn't a whole lot of that coming out. It was kinda making a little bit of resurgence in this kinda category, which I'd say this is definitely a horror. I don't know if you could say comedy because it makes it sound like you're gonna laugh, but I don't think the point is to laugh, like, hysterically or comedically about what's in this movie. I think it's more to, like, chuckle along with the sheer insanity of it, you know? It's a little
Yeah.
over the top. So, I really, really liked it, man. I think I gave it a 4.5 on a letterbox, so a solid 9, I'd say. The movie was
Nice.
fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's interesting because this movie kind of came out. I mean, we were talking about like 2000s horror before we rolled on
Yeah,
this recording, and this movie kind of came in like just as the 2000s was kind of the things that were popular in the 2000s in regards to the horror genre were kind of on the decline.
yeah.
Movies like Hostel and the whole torture. I don't want to say the word, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the
yeah.
torture, the P word. I don't want to get
Yeah, yeah.
censored on YouTube for saying it, but that whole genre, or subgenre, so to speak, of horror was kind of on the decline.
Yeah.
And those movies were not movies that I was ever into to begin with, to be honest. But that stuff was kind of, I guess we could say it had run its course, right? And then at the same time as those movies were coming out in the States, there was the wave of like French extreme, ultra violent horror films that were coming out overseas, which, you and I have talked about before.
Yeah.
We've done a couple or at least one video on that. The most, fucked up movies we've ever seen. Some of those
Yeah.
movies made that list. So Your Next kind of came out at an interesting time, and I kind of agree with what you said about it. It was kind of just something that was not necessarily completely original, but just something that was different,
Yeah.
and kind of did its own thing and kind of carved out its own little spot in the genre, And I mean, and this is kind of like, I mean, you could call it a slasher film, you could call it a home invasion movie, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit of both. But I think it kind of takes those I guess we could say those the tropes that are associated with those two subgenres and kind of turns them on its head. You know, it
Yeah.
has fun with it, you know, and I really appreciate it for that reason alone. And again, I don't think, you know, watching this movie today, watching it again, I enjoyed it, I think, just as much as I probably did the first time, although it's been many years since I've seen it. So I think that kind of helped with the rewatch, just not remembering too much about it.
Yeah.
There
Absolutely.
were some moments that were seemed like that, you know, it was just as surprising as I may have remembered them, you know what I mean? So that was good. I mean, I think that helped, you know, not remembering as much. It made that experience a little more enjoyable. But yeah, dude, I think this is it's a solid movie. And Adam Wingard, I mean, now he's making, you know, giant monster movies, but you know, dude, he was kind of on a roll, you know, back in the day with putting this out, and then, you know, a few years later, he came out with that movie, The Guest, which I think is an incredible movie. If you you know people watching haven't seen The Guest, I would definitely check that out. If you guys are a fan of Your Next, you're gonna love The Guest.
Yeah.
Um,
I do need to watch that one. We add that
I
to the
think you'd
list.
love it, man. I think you'd love it. But yeah, I
Another
mean,
second sights release.
this was kind of coming in at a unique time. Like that the stuff that was popular throughout the 2000s was kind of waning, and this came before the more, I guess we could say, like cerebral, you know, psychological type of horror films that, you know, we started getting after the fact. Like, you know,
Yeah.
once the 2010s were like in full swing, we started getting a lot more of those movies. But I think Your Next is unique is that it kind of came at a time like right in between those two genres, subgenres, so to speak, experienced, you know, their height in popularity at least. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of like a home I guess you could say an homage to like 70s and 80s slasher movies, you know?
Yeah, it is.
It's your typical, you know, it follows a lot of those same, I guess you could say, even the plot is very similar to a lot of those movies where it's like, you know, there's a bunch of or a group of people trapped in a location and they're kind of getting picked off one by one. I mean, it's a standard, you know, slasher progression in terms of the story, right? You know, there's nudity, there's like dark humor to it, you know, which I appreciate. Um, but it's also in a lot of the same ways that those movies were kind of like reflections of the time period that they were in. I think it kind of bears that characteristic as well.
Yeah.
There's just characters in this movie, and again, we don't have to go into detail, but there's some of the characters in this movie are pieces of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Like
are.
they are just
Yeah.
not likable at all, you know? So it's fun to kind of watch some of them get picked off because you're like, oh, thank God. Like the guy was fucking annoying, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They really drive you to root for one character and one
yeah,
character only and not a single other person.
right, right.
And it does it really well.
Yeah. And dude, even it's funny watching it today. It's interesting to watch it today and look at other movies that are out now and even how much some of those movies have kind of taken from this movie, you know,
Yeah.
like looking back. Because I mean, I can't really think of another movie that came out at the time of this one that's similar to it. I mean, the closest one I could think of that is probably the most popular that people might think of is The Strangers. And I think, you know, you had mentioned that earlier. I don't know if
Yeah.
you mentioned it during the recording, but it might have been before we rolled. But it's funny because this movie, it's less about the intruders, um, and kind of more about the people that are inside, you know,
Yeah.
with our final girl, with our protagonist, right? It focuses a lot more on the dynamic between the characters that are inside the house than it necessarily does the intruders. So I found that to be very interesting. And I think that's kind of what carries this movie. You know, you're kind of intrigued as to how this dynamic plays out between these characters inside the house, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. That would probably be like I don't know. There's really nothing to describe like it that I could really sell it on or really compare it to.
Mm.
The only thing I could really say is, like, if you've seen The Strangers, the complete opposite of that. Like, it's
Yeah,
still set
yeah.
in a house and it's about an invasion, but you just kind of flip turn almost every single role that it presents
Mhm.
an idea it gives you in that. That's what this movie is. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it because, like, as much as I can watch the same things with, the same settings, but just slightly different, you know what I mean? Like Thanksgiving is another, like, just kinda slasher, but it has a theme for Thanksgiving, but in core
Yeah.
essence, it's just like a lot of other things that have came out. This one fits outside of that box, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has its own
Yeah.
identity, it's really unique, and if you can't get your hands on this and you're just curious about the movie, definitely find it somewhere to stream
Mm.
and, support it that way because I definitely think I think it runs, like, just under an hour 40, so it's definitely worth every minute of your time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I recommend it as well, guys. You know, if you can pick this up, hopefully not secondhand. I mean, I'm assuming if this is actually sold out, the prices are going to be possibly a little steep if you're trying to buy it secondhand, but it's definitely a movie worth checking out if you can secure yourself a copy, even if it's a used copy down the line.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a fan of slashers, I mean, this is a unique movie that came out at a very interesting time in the genre. So I think it's worth having in your collection, personally speaking. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, do you wanna go ahead and close this out?
Yeah, we're done. That's it. Thanks for watching.
That's all, folks.
No, thanks guys for checking out the video. Check out our other content on the channel. We do Chase has been banging out content lately, so
Trying.
check out his videos. You know, Gabe's been doing stuff. We have our podcast. Those are longer format videos. Check all that good stuff out, and of course, if you like what we do here on From Screen to Shelf, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a video like this. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We appreciate it.
Later, everybody.